Welcome back to another episode. We're well into late season now, which brings up today's topic. We're going to be discussing late season tactics, things that have worked for us over the years, things that we've changed, successes and failure. We'll discuss both, and we'll hopefully help you guys out. If you're in states like Illinois and you can roll on through January, man, does the first week to week and a half of January present some really good late season hunting opportunities. Especially I've seen mature bucks dog and doe fawns like crazy the last couple of years. So let's start this thing off, guys. So late season tactics. The most important tactic I can think of is for sure locating food. If you don't have food, man, can it seem like there's no deer anywhere. It can be pretty daunting to hunt the late season if you're not in, quality food areas. It's going to seem like there's just nothing around. Makes it very frustrating, makes it hard to stick it out. Weather's really tough. It's cold, you get negative temperatures, wind chill's pretty brutal. So there's a lot about late season that can seem like a negative, but the positive is that extremely cold weather you get during late season pushes deer to food, pushes deer to feed, gets them up on their feet a little bit earlier. And besides the rut, oftentimes deer just kind of lay around in bed, mosey around and browse on either, like briars or, they're eating acorns, things like that. But unless there's something to get them up, some kind of influencer to make them move, it can be extremely tough to see mature bucks in daylight, unless your property encompasses a portion of their bedding, in their home range, that tight knit area where they want to be. So tactics for hunting the late season. Food is number one. That's the most important. Number two is how are you going to hunt around the food? This is where I've changed my tactic over the last couple of years, and this is what's helped me be more successful. The biggest buck I've ever harvested was using this exact tactic. Instead of hunting the fringes like I normally do during October and even early November before I get a little more aggressive during the rut, typically I'm not hunting deep in the bedding areas. But what I've done in the last couple of years is I've changed it up and I've hunted closer to bedding, and I've been hunting the transitions like I did previously. So when I harvested my largest buck to date, I was using this tactic. I was hunting the transition route. I knew where the bedding area was. I put myself on the downwind side of that bedding area, just like I would during November when I'm trying to stay on the downwind side of doe bedding. The difference is now is I'm looking for specific bucks. So if I'm targeting a specific deer, I want to be looking for his rub line. I'm going to be looking for his core area, an area that is just completely rubbed up, scraped up, where I know he's likely going to be coming from. That's the best tactic that I've seen work for me over the last couple of years. It's helped me kill my biggest buck. It put me on my target last year. It was January 6th. I was using the same tactic that I used on my previous buck. Once the doe fawns reach 90 pounds, they'll come into estrus even that first year. So what you'll see is another little flurry of rutting activity, and those mature bucks, this time of year, they're back on their feet, they're looking for food, but they're also still thinking about breeding. So if you can be in an area where a lot of does are, especially if you know where a lot of fawns are, that's a great area to be at the end of December, early January. The unfortunate part for me last year is that I was on this buck 3 different times. It was from, I believe, the last week of December all the way through towards the end of January when we had to stop hunting. I had 3 encounters with him, and one of the times he was chasing a doe, and that was either the 6th or the 7th of January. He came through, presented a 20-yard shot. I clipped a limb, kicked my arrow way up high over his back, and that was it. But the tactic did work, and it has been successful in the past, and it's probably going to continue to keep being successful for me. This is a tactic I'm going to be using this late season, and it's hopefully going to put me back on another mature buck, either the short G2 buck or the big 10-pointer I'm after. I really like hunting close to bedding in the evenings. That's been the ticket for me. I feel like I can slip in these areas. The deer are already in the bedroom. I can get in there a little bit on the early side, as long as you can handle being cold, and it's going to be, windy and snowy, and you're going to have to put in quite a few hours before this tactic's going to pay off. So if you don't mind, and during the cold, man, can it present some of the best hunting opportunities of the whole year. This puts giants on their feet. Some of the biggest bucks I've seen over the years, and definitely the biggest ones I've harvested, have been during the later part of deer season, using the food tactic, looking for doe fawns, getting that last bit of breeding. And then the third and last tactic for hunting the late season, and another one that's extremely important, is that these deer are on edge. So you're gonna have to play the wind probably more than you ever have the whole season. During the rut you can get away with a lot, but by the time late season rolls around, you've been through all the firearm seasons. These deer are not the same animal. They get spooked at everything. And that is probably what cost me my buck last year, was that after I missed him, he showed up again on the last couple nights that I could hunt. Came to about 30 yards. He skylined me. I should have hunted from the ground, but I hunted from the stand. And it's just, he picked me off from so far away. I couldn't believe it. I had perfect wind. Everything looked good. But these deer, they're just not the same animal. So late season can be extremely difficult. It can be tough. It's hard to, capitalize on these deer. It always seems like, at least for me, that I see more big bucks, and I definitely have more encounters with my targets during December and January than I do even, November. November can be tough because deer are just running all over the place. They're traveling miles and miles. But during the late season, you can hone in on one deer and you can target a specific buck, which is what I like to do. I don't mind passing deer all season. Even if I have to eat a tag or two, that's okay. Everybody has their own goals, and if your goal is to chase a big buck, these late season tactics will help you. Look for food, figure out where they're bedding, look for those big rub lines. In the evenings, hunt, and between the food, because even though it's going to have them on their feet a little earlier, they've been pressured a lot, so they're not going to move that much before dark. So the closer you are to the bedding area, the closer you're going to be to getting that deer, in shooting light, which if they show up on that food source at dark, it's not going to do you any good. And if anything, you're more likely going to spook them getting out, because the destination is to get to that food. So once they're there, they're going to stay there for a while. That's why I like hunting in the transition or closer to bedding, because once they pass through and past me, I can slip out. And that's what brings up that third topic, which is access and being more careful. And this is the time of year where actually leaving a bedding area is probably going to do less damage than leaving a food source, ag field, food plot, things like that. So I hope that helps you out this season, guys. Good luck. We're going to be continuing to chase a couple of the bucks that we've been after, and hopefully we can get one down.